France, 1465. The War of the Public Weal. Not again. Hello, I'm Bruce. Welcome to the basement. Today we continue our tradition of refighting battles that nobody has ever heard of before. Today's game will be very, very loosely based on the Battle of Montlhéry from the War of the Public Weal. What's that you say? You've never heard of that battle? You've never even heard of that war? Well, neither had I until we played today's game, the War of the Public Weal. You gotta say it's a heck of a name for a war. Anyway, I invite you to sit back and watch and relax and maybe learn a thing or two. In the 15th century, the Duke of Burgundy was nominally a vassal of the King of France. However, with fiefs in France and holdings in the imperial lands of the Holy Roman Empire, the powerful Dukes of Burgundy dreamed of founding their own independent kingdom. The King of France, Louis XI, on the other hand, wanted to create a centralized state and to curb the powers of his overmighty vassals. The Spider King, as he was sometimes known, was a master politician, usually able to outmaneuver his opponents. But by 1465, a great many French noblemen had grown resentful over the loss of their ancient powers and privileges. Charles, son of the Duke of Burgundy, was no slouch at manipulating people himself. He convinced many of these disaffected noblemen to form the League of Public Weal. The Public Weal would be best served by restoring their powers, of course, and they went to war with the king. The war only lasted for a few months and sort of just petered out without anything being resolved. There was only one battle of any size, that being the Battle of Montlhéry, which forms the basis for today's game. We will be using the Continental Europe supplement of the Nevermind the Billhooks rules. In our game, both sides will be evenly matched. Each side will have 4 commands: the van, the left, the right, and the center. Both armies will have equal numbers of mounted and dismounted knights, polearm troops, and missile troops. Each side will also have a cannon. The pike-armed troops are arrayed in blocks, with missile-armed skirmishers in front of them. Pierre de Brézé commands the French right, Louis XI commands the French center, and Charles, Comte de Maine, commands the French left. I don't know the names of most of the Burgundian nobles present at the historical Battle of Montlhéry, so I just made some up. I will be Hugh de Lally, in command of the Burgundian right. Charles of Burgundy, who later became Charles the Bold, will command the centre, while the Comte de Sacre-Liliac and his son, the Chevalier Maurice, will command the Burgundian left and van divisions. The rules will be the Continental Europe supplement of Nevermind the Billhooks, which is a card-driven game that has cards for order of movement, special events, and bonus actions. The game begins with the French cannon opening fire. The aggressive de Brézé also gives his troops the order to advance on the right, infantry and knights moving forward, while men advances on the left. Charles of Burgundy responds by sending forward our archers, while our cannon inflicts casualties on the French gun. Charles has rolled a 6 on the dice for the game, where a 6 is represented by a rose. That's because the standard version of Nevermind the Billhooks is for the Wars of the Roses. The French right advances against Sacre-Liliac. They take losses from the Burgundian crossbowmen, and then the Burgundian knights charge! The clash of steel is deafening as the knights ride into each other. The French are victorious and cause more casualties to the Burgundians than they suffer in return. The Burgundians will not break, so the commander of the French van throws himself into the melee. I advance on the Burgundian right. My knights charge into battle against the Comte de Maine's knights in another great clash of steel. Most of the knights on both sides are killed, but I have the worst of it. During the fighting, the die is cocked. I only mention this as it's the name of the channel. The Comte de Sacre-Liliac throws himself into the fray, and the leader of the French van is killed. However, Brézé's knights charge and then destroy the knights of the Chevalier Maurice. As I mentioned, special events can occur during a game. The Donnerwetter card comes up, bringing a storm. This means that there will be no missile fire due to wet bowstrings until there is a tied die roll. There's a tied die roll soon after, so the storm doesn't last long. King Louis and Charles of Burgundy advance against each other in the centre. As the rainstorm passes, they launch arrow storms against each other. The Comte de Men's pikes slam into one of Charles' units. The Comte de Men leads his remaining knights into battle against Hugh de Lally, but I hold on, and a desperate struggle ensues. A desperate struggle rages in the centre as well, but Men's pikes defeat Charles' polearms. Sacre-Liliac leads his dismounted knights into battle against what's left of the French van, but his horse is killed. As he tumbles to the ground, a French knight thrusts a sword through his visor. Too bad, he would have been worth a big ransom. As units cannot move if their commander has been killed, the fighting on the Burgundian left, French right, is over. My pikes turn and attack the Comte de Men. He is killed in the battle as he rolls a 1 for his leader casualty check. But the French have received a bonus card that entitles him to a reroll, and it turns out that news of his death has been greatly exaggerated. At this point, the French get a special event card. A new unit of French knights arrives on the field. Desperate to try to break the French left before the reinforcements arrive, Charles charges Men's pikeman himself. Brezé leads the newly arrived French knights, plus his own infantry, against the beleaguered remains of the troops of the Chevalier Maurice. Maurice has been captured, and, leaderless, his troops cannot move. Though we have made short work of both the French left and the French van, our own left and van have also been virtually destroyed. With French reinforcements arriving on the field, we don't have enough troops left to win. At this point, we Burgundians call the game and offer a friendly handshake to King Louis. No hard feelings, Louis. It was all about the public weal, after all. Well, that was my first time playing Nevermind the Billhooks, and I have to say I really liked the rules. They were simple and easy to learn, and you get to roll fistfuls of dice, which is something I always like in a game because it means I have a chance of rolling something besides ones. Anyway, that's it for now. I'd like to thank Perry for putting on the game, and I'd like to thank all of you for joining me in the basement. Until next time, may your dice always roll true.